Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. I am very convinced now that Manchester United will finish in the top four this season. I know around a month or so ago I was very sceptical that we was going to get that top four, but now obviously we've had a good couple of results behind us, and Chelsea of course have lost three of their last four games. I do believe that we are going to get it, which will obviously now be a step forward for Manchester United. And Solskjaer, of course, has got the same perception as me, because he did say prior to the Burnley game that if we do find consistency, he is convinced that we will get that top four. So obviously, reflecting on the win against Burnley yesterday night, that has put us now just 1 point behind top four, and that, which is obviously now very good. Back-to-back Premier League wins going into the new year. It's our first clean sheet, we have kept since September, but it is only our third away win in the Premier League so far this season. So that just indicates, how bad we have been away from home. But I am very delighted in that, and it's obviously overall our eighth win of the Premier League season and that. But give you my overall analysis on the game. I thought it was a very good performance by Manchester United. Solskjaer had made four changes from the 4-1 win against Newcastle, and that was a good. It was good what Solskjaer did, really, resting some key players, because he's aware that Arsenal is on the horizon. Obviously, we saw Ashley Young starting at right back. Brandon Williams was playing at left back. I think actually now Solskjaer views Brandon Williams as his first choice left back. Obviously, Bissaka was rested. Luke Shaw didn't start, but he came on in the second half. Obviously, he went with Fred and Matic in that midfield, because obviously, McTominay is out with a knee injury. Solskjaer confirmed that he's damaged the ligaments in his knee, and I think now he's confirmed that he could be out for 3 to 4 weeks. So his injury, must be quite severe, and that, So obviously he didn't play. I was surprised that Paul Pogba, didn't start. Paul Pogba, wasn't even part of the squad. Obviously he's just recently, recovered from an ankle injury. Paul Pogba was out with an ankle injury for over 3 months in that, and then obviously he had an illness, but now obviously he's recovered from that, because he came on in the 4-1 win against Newcastle as a substitute. He made an impact. He also came on in the 2-0 defeat to Watford and that, so we do know the difference he does make in that midfield. But yeah, like I said, there was a lot of good individual performances yesterday. I thought Ashley Young played really well at right back. I thought Brandon Williams played well at left back. I thought the full-backs, showed good attacking intent. They tracked back well. They prevented Burnley from making a lot of crosses. I thought Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof did really well at the back. And I think for the vast majority of this season anyway, they've blended in our backline fantastically well. Lindelof, of course, now is flourishing as a Manchester United player. So it was a good defensive performance. We also showed a lot of attacking intent. We also did create a lot of chances. And like I've said on my recent videos, a lot of aspects of our game have improved, which I'm very delighted about. I thought, Fred did really well in the midfield. Like I said on my match reaction, I thought he switched to play well. He won a lot of them second balls, which I was very delighted about. I know Fred has had some poor games as a Manchester United player, and he still hasn't performed to the standards as we should expect from him. He hasn't really replicated what he did at Shakhtar Donetsk, but I think now he has really rejuvenated himself, to be fair to him. Matic didn't have a bad game, and there was a lot of good individual performances. Daniel James was very effective. He's enjoyed a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. The goals obviously came from Anthony Martial just before half time. That's Martial's 10th goal of this season. His 58th goal in all competitions. Since his arrival from Monaco, he is now into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. But Martial operates now in that number 9, because I think he's more effective in that central position. Even though for the vast majority of his Man United career prior to this season, he has operated out wide. But yeah, I've been very impressed with him. And of course, Rashford had scored the second goal in the 95th minute of stoppage time, and that's Rashford's now 16th goal this season. So Rashford and Martial in total have scored 26 goals between them. You know, all in all, Rashford has now scored 61 goals for the football club. You know, I think this is since he broke into the senior squad back in 2016. Obviously, he's been a United player overall since the age of 7. So far, Rashford has obviously spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United, and is only the age of 22. But I thought he put a very, very good performance out. Rashford could have had more than one goal because he had a few chances. Martial should have had at least 2 goals because he had a shot cleared off the line. I think he also had a disallowed goal. But they were absolutely tremendous for us. You know, so yeah, very, very impressed, and very, very impressed with that. You know, Rashford did really, really well. Like I said, James did well. You know, I think David De Gea also did well in goal. I think he made, was it a good couple of saves in the second half. You know, but we know we've got a good record against Burnley at Turf Moor. You know, obviously we lost our first ever Premier League meeting against Burnley back in 2009. You know, and all that. But yeah, very, very delighted with the result, and momentum now seems to be building. So hopefully, we can keep this good run of form up against Arsenal. You know, Arsenal, of course, is on New Year's Day. Then obviously, after that, it's Wolves next weekend in the FA Cup, which is going to be a very difficult game. Then we've got Man City in the Carabao Cup semi-final. You know, then obviously Norwich coming up, Liverpool coming up in mid-January, which is going to be a very, very difficult game. We're the only team this season in the Premier League to take many points from Liverpool. But of course, I think now there might be quite a few Manchester United fans that are determined to back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously for the vast majority of this season, a lot of Manchester United fans, including myself, have been demanding him out of the football club, because for the vast majority of this season, he has been under intense pressure, because obviously, we've enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season for around 30 years and that. But, there's still plenty of time to turn things around. We are now at the halfway point of the season. These are still around 18 games remaining. So these are still a lot of points to play for. I still don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a long-term solution for Man United. I'll still back him as our manager, but I can assure that he will be here in January. He will be here at the end of the season. I'm still very sceptical about him, seeing out his 3-year contract at Man United. But if we can keep this consistency up until, March or until the end of the season, then my perceptions, may start to change regarding Solskjaer. Like I've said on my recent videos, some aspects of me credit him. I've also got some element of concern about him, because I think for the vast majority of this season he's been tactically naive. Some of his substitutions have been questionable, but I think in certain games like, the Burnley, the Newcastle, the Liverpool game early on this season, all that, he showed quite a lot of tactical flexibility. I think he does rely on the kids too much, but we have got a lot of young upcoming players in the squad that I think, are going to become a success at Manchester United. Prime example, I think Greenwood's going to do well. I think as Greenwood develops more, he will overtake Marcus Rashford, or obviously emulate to Rashford's level. I think eventually, he will overtake Anthony Martial. But I just think we need to start playing Greenwood more regularly. Some Man United fans' preferences, would be Daniel James over Mason Greenwood. But Greenwood is on 18 goals for the football club this season. Brandon Williams, very, very good player. I think he's our preference now over Luke Shaw. He's got good attacking intent, he tracks back well, and he's been absolutely fantastic. But I think now, since he's come onto the equation, Brandon Williams, we're not too bothered about recommending a left back in next year. Tuanzebe, he sustained quite a few injuries this season. But I think in the games he has played in this season, he's actually been very, very impressive as Tuanzebe. James Garner's actually done well in the games he's played in. But like I said, we've got to get rid of some of the young upcoming players, because I've got element of concerns about some of them, and some of their appearances are limited. Solskjaer again went with the 4-2-3-1 formation yesterday. Like I said, maybe we should change, formation, because we've been going that 4-2-3-1 formation on a regular basis this season, and we do know for the vast majority of this season it hasn't worked out. In some games it's worked out, but not all of the games it's worked out. I said maybe we should consider reverting to the 4-3-3, or we should go with 3 at the back or something like that, and maybe a system that can avoid us playing the number 10. Pereira, to be fair, did play well in the number 10 yesterday. We've got quite a few players that can play in the number 10. You've got Pereira that can play in the number 10. You've got Mata that can play in the number 10. And you've got, who's the other one that can play? And Lingard, who can, of course, play in the number 10. I've been criticising Pereira, for the vast majority of this season because he hasn't been playing well enough. He hasn't, been good enough, and I think we've overplayed Andres Pereira this season. I think a lot of Manchester United fans have been demanding him out in the football club, but we could still consider getting rid of Andres Pereira next year. But Solskjaer has tried a few different elements in that. Obviously, reflects on the amount of injuries that we've had this season anyway. We've had to make a lot of alterations in the squad. Don't forget Luke Shaw was out with a hamstring injury earlier on this season. He was out for a while. Martial was out with a hamstring problem earlier on this season. Pogba was out with an ankle injury. McTominay was out with an ankle injury. Now he's out with a knee injury. Lingard's had a few injuries this season. Rashford was injured early on this season. We've currently at this present time still got Eric Bailly out with a knee injury. He's been out with a knee injury since pre-season. We've still got Fosu Mensah out. We've got Diego Dalot I think's now back, but he's also sustained a few injuries this season. Diego Dalot played for the youngsters the other week, and Solskjaer said from then on, he should be fine. But yeah, Solskjaer's revealed anyway that Bailly and Fosu Mensah are back in training and they are closer to returning, which is very, very good news. Rojo, I think, is still out until the new year. So like I said, we've had a lot of injuries this season. But I think now, in our last 2 games and that, I think, we're replicating, well, we have replicated, what we did in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. Because we did really, really well in that 3-month period, The results were good, the performances were good. Solskjaer got the best out of these group of players. And of course, he exceeded expectations in that. Obviously, we do know for the vast majority of the 9.5 months he's been permanent manager, he's mainly endured a difficult time. But there has been periods where we've actually done well. We've had a good couple of results in that behind us, and the performances have been good. And Solskjaer recently spoken about that we do react to bad defeats, but we just struggle to keep that consistency up. So reflects on the 2-0 win against Burnley yesterday. Reflects on the 4-1 win against Newcastle on Boxing Day. Hopefully from now on, we can keep that consistency up. Hopefully we can beat Arsenal. Hopefully we can beat Wolves in the FA Cup 3rd round. We know they're going to be very, very difficult games. Hopefully we can, beat City in the Carabao Cup first leg. Because, I think we can get some silverware on the board this season. And I think, if we are to get any silverware on the board, it's probably, imminent that we'll get the Carabao Cup. If we can beat Man City in the semi-final over the 2 legs, I'm convinced, we can win the Carabao Cup. Definitely we can. We can win the Carabao Cup. Because, we can. And Solskjaer was recently, speaking about the importance of us lifting silverware next year. Lifting trophies in that, this is what he was speaking about. And we can also win the Europa League, because we are into knockout stages of that, where we did win Group L. And, there's 2 routes we can get Champions League football, and that's either finishing in the top 4 or, of course, winning the Europa League and getting automatic qualification into the Champions League. We are aware that still more signings are needed at Manchester United. I think we need at least 5 to 6 more signings if we are to be back to being a competitive elite level football club. We've got to address the deficiencies in the squad next year. I know during the summer that we got that centre half that we wanted in through Harry Maguire. He's addressed our defensive deficiencies. We've got that right back in with Wan-Bissaka. He's a type of right back we can rely on for at least the next decade. He's been immense this season for us. And yeah, so we did address some of the problematic areas during the summer, but next year we've got to reinvest in that midfield. Regardless what happens with Paul Pogba, whether he stays or goes, we've still got to reinvest in that midfield because we need to recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera and Marouane Fellaini. I think we also need a couple of strikers, we also need a right winger. Possibly there's other areas in the squad as well that do need to be addressed. But next year we've got to recruit the right calibre players to Manchester United. And when you're in Champions League football, or when you are being consistent in that, then you've more chance of attracting players to the elite level. But Solskjaer still insists that we can attract players to the elite level. Solskjaer recently admitted that our rebuild is behind schedule and that. But Solskjaer's give his overarching view on it all, and he says recently that this team and that going ahead into next season, they might have a lot more challenges. He still expects a lot from the team this year, like he was saying. Don't forget he recently put Man City in the equation. He says Man United, can't replicate, Man City's tippy-tappy football. So he says we can't, play, Pep Guardiola's brand of football, because obviously he's aware at the moment he's Solskjaer that City are strides ahead of us, Liverpool are strides ahead of us at the moment, but we've got to, and our recruitment's got to improve anywhere, because our recruitment's been very poor for several years, and not only recently. In that aspect, the vast majority of the blame stems from the board, because our board have been a liability for several years. They have been a liability for several years, and I said, we need to recommend a new board in, but I think we need to see a variety of changes at the football club anywhere. We need to recommend a new board in. I think we need a chairman in, because quite frankly, I just don't think Ed Woodward is reliable in that to oversee our transfer business. I think from Ed Woodward's perception, he's keen on recommending a new director of footballing, because we was in for the director of football during the course in the summer, but obviously we didn't get one. And I said if we were to get one in, we need someone to come in who can, someone to come in who's got the right philosophy for the club, someone who can get the right players in, and someone who knows the club inside out and that. But I think Solskjaer insisted a while back that he was happy with the club's current structure. I think we also need to get rid of the Glazers, so we still need to see a variety of changes at the football club, definitely. I still think these more problematic players at Manchester United that do need to be moved on. I think, we need to get, rid of more players. I think we need to get probably rid of another 4 or 5 more players, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Because these definitely still players that are no longer good enough to represent Manchester United. Like I've said, Young. I thought Young had a good game yesterday against Burnley, to be fair. He's obviously initially lost his place in the team anywhere since the arrival of Wan-Bissaka, because Wan-Bissaka has established himself as our first choice right back. But Young's been a long-serving player at Manchester United. He's now into his 9th season at the club. He's enjoyed 8 years here. But you can say he has passed his sell-by date. Young is now into his 30th. He's nearly 35. He's 34 at the moment. Yesterday was his 260th appearance for the football club in all competitions since his arrival from Aston Villa back in 2011. But analysing it, I think Young's had a good couple of years. But I think for around 7 years or something like that, he has been mainly inconsistent. We shouldn't have given him that new 1-year extension last season. I also believe Phil Jones is another one of the problematic players. Very inconsistent. His appearances now are limited anywhere, because Solskjaer's first choice centre-backs are Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Jones will probably get his chances like in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, but prior to that won't really get any opportunities in the Premier League. And Jones has been here more or less the same amount of time as Ashley Young, because Jones has been here since the Ferguson era, and Jones is now into his 9th season at Manchester United, like I said. So But yeah, so I think maybe we need to consider getting rid of him. He signed a new long-term contract last season. Marcos Rojo's another one. I actually, think Rojo is injury prone. Not to the extent of Eric Bay and that, because Eric Bay is always injured, but still Rojo has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. And I'm actually surprised that Rojo didn't leave during the summer, because I thought he was going to make a move to Everton, but he didn't. I think in the summer we put around the £25 million valuation on Rojo, but Everton, of course, were reluctant to pay that. I think Rojo's versatility is very, very good. He can play as a centre half, he can play as a full back and a wing back, so he can play in various positions in that back line. And I think now Rojo is in his late 20s. He's in his late 20s and that, and yeah. So these still more players that do need to leave the football club, definitely. I did say I think we need a change of management, but if we got rid of Solskjaer now anyway, it wouldn't solve many problems really at the football club. Our board are determined to give him at least a couple more windows to see who else he can recommend into the football club. Obviously, Ed Woodward is determined to stand by him. The vast majority of our players have got faith in him, because Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding. Solskjaer is inheriting still some players even from the Ferguson era. There's Matty even from the David Moyes era. There's some players still even from the Van Gaal era. He's inheriting 9 of Jose Mourinho's players. The vast majority of this team is Jose Mourinho's, so take that into account. And Solskjaer is going to be given unlimited funds next year. And I did estimate, didn't I? I think we're going to spend a substantial amount on recruiting new players in next year. I think we're going to spend from 250 to 300 million pounds on recruiting new players. Like I said, if we can sell some players and generate some funds, then obviously it will mount up to a lot more. Which would be very, very beneficial, definitely. But, we will see what happens. But, like I said, I know we've been very, very poor for the last, 6 or 7 years. We've been a toxic football club since, Ferguson retired back in 2013. But, we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are the most successful team in England, historically, reflecting on the titles and that, 13 Premier Leagues, 7 Old First Division, so we've won in total 20 titles. Obviously, a lot of money has been invested into the football club over the years in all the managerial eras. I think, is this me estimating, or I might be right actually, I think we spent around £700 million in all the managerial areas. This is since the Ferguson era, by the way, on recruiting new players, and that's disregarding what was spent under Ferguson. But Alex Ferguson, actually, developed a lot of young players, and I think Solskjaer does replicate him in that aspect, because Solskjaer still wants to continue recruiting young players into the football club, like he did do during this summer. At this present time, at the moment, we've got a lot of young players in the squad. And I think Solskjaer's obviously, he knows now that he's into his second year at Man United. He's obviously, got many expectations to exceed. Hasn't really exceeded them, since he got a job permanently and that. But he knows Man United need to get that top 4 this season, because I did initially say at the start of this season that our expectations this season will be to finish in that top 4, definitely. But, we don't want to keep sacking managers. We haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers. We're not that type of club, that sacks managers, despite the fact we've sacked 3 managers since the Ferguson era. Like I said, Moyes went, Van Gaal went, and Jose Mourinho went. Solskjaer was to be sacked. Obviously, he would be the 4th manager, to be sacked since Alex Ferguson. But he isn't going to be sacked anyway. He's not going to be sacked. I think if we hadn't beaten Tottenham or Man City earlier on this season, then I presume he would have been sacked. And you got to say, them 2 games are the games that saved Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's managerial tenure at the football club. Definitely they're the 2 games that saved his managerial tenure. But like I said, we've done well against the big teams this season, so that's a positive. Our record against the big teams has been good this season so far. Wasn't so good last season. We haven't been great against low opposition this season, but recently, we're starting to beat lower opposition. That's obviously what we need to keep doing. That's what Man United do need to keep doing. I just think, from my own perception, that we've drawn too many games this season. We've drawn 7. We've lost 5 games. Obviously, all the games we've lost have come against their lower opposition. But I think the vast majority of them 7 games that we've drawn, I think, where we should have won, basically. We should have beaten Everton. We should have beaten Aston Villa. We should have beaten Southampton. We should have beaten Wolves earlier on in the season. We'd have won those. I think top 4 now probably would have been in the bag. We shouldn't have lost to Watford. We shouldn't have lost away to Bournemouth. These are the type of games that could obviously cost us. So take that into account. I think the best games we've had under Solskjaer, I think Cardiff was one of them. Obviously, that was Solskjaer's first game as Manchester United manager. We won, obviously, 5-1. That was the first time we scored 5 goals since the Ferguson era. So that just indicates how bad we've been, for the last 6 or 7 years. It's the biggest away we've had under Solskjaer. Fantastic game against PSG last season when we overcome that 2-goal deficit. And then obviously, 1-3-1 in the second leg. That was, I think, Solskjaer's most iconic moment as manager. Had a fantastic game against Man City in the league most recently. Good against Tottenham. I think we also was very, very good in the FA Cup against Chelsea last season when we won 2-0. Good at the Emirates last season when we won 3-1 in the FA Cup. And we did have a good cup run last season. Don't forget, we did progress to the quarter-final. Didn't we get to the quarter-finals of the Champions League? So it was quite good in the cup games. I think the worst games we've had under Solskjaer, one of them was Everton. Everton last season when we lost 4-0. Do you remember that game? That was back in April. Solskjaer, of course, had publicly come out and apologised after that game, so I credited him for that. We had a few other bad games. There's a few others as well. The Watford game was bad. We've had quite a few. Can't remember them all, but we've had quite a few bad games. But yeah. So we know. I know that Solskjaer is going to stay at the football club, but I've been updating you recently, haven't I? On some more transfers and that. And it's not long now until the January transfer window opens. I always look forward to the January transfer window and that. There will be signings made in January. It's not guaranteed that we'll make any signings in January, but Solskjaer, I think, he's orchestrating on recommending at least 2 players in January. Don't forget, he's had several meetings, with our head of recruitments and that. There's a lot of players on our agenda. Possibly we could sign Maddison in January or next summer. We could go for Haaland in January. Like updated, your recent reports did indicate out saying that he's allegedly, reached a verbal agreement with Juventus. Jack Grealish is another player on our agenda. There's still a lot of talks going on regarding Christian Eriksen. So I think all of those that I've just mentioned to you would be the right calibre players for Manchester United, definitely in that. Solskjaer recently, written off the remainder of the season, like I said to you. But I think now reflects on those 2 good wins, there's something to play for, and that is the top 4. And I didn't expect us to win the league this season. I knew we wasn't going to win the league this season because we're not good enough to win the league at the moment. I don't think we're going to win the league for at least the next couple of years. We haven't won it now for nearly 7 or 8 years. I think maybe at some point we'll win it again, but I don't know when. Obviously, when we can emulate Liverpool and Man City's level, But like I've said to you guys on my recent videos, it's not always about spending big on players. It's not always about getting them Galactico players in that. Sometimes it's beneficial being sensible with your recruitment. Like prime example, Liverpool. Like I said, they've been sensible with their recruitment. Look at what position they're in, the top of the league. They're like, 35 Premier League games unbeaten. They're 14 points in front of City. They're 10 points in front of Leicester. So there you go. It just shows you. Liverpool have already signed someone, haven't they? They signed Minamino from Red Bull Salzburg for just over £7 million. So again, they didn't overpay for him, but we've overpaid for players. We've overpaid for players in recent years. 50 million for Fred, 80 million for Maguire. I know he's not on the same level as Van Dijk, Liverpool paid £75 million for him. You know, that was a lot from a Liverpool perspective, but you know, he's the best centre half in the world. He's not like the Laporte either, but I still say Maguire's in the top four or the top five as one of the best centre halves in the world. Definitely, we overpaid for Pogba. You know, we paid £89 million for him. You know, but now he's back anywhere. Pogba, you know, he's going to get a lot of games under his belt. You know, which is very very good. You know, and it's not only us that need to get more signings in. I think, you know, Arsenal definitely need more signings at their football club. Maybe you could say Chelsea need more signings. I think Chelsea, you know, did get their transfer ban uplifted. They did initially have a transfer ban, you know, was it I think, was it this year or was it last year, if I can remember right? I think it was this year, for tapping them around minors, but I think it's been uplifted anywhere. You know, so yeah, definitely Arsenal need signings, you know, because they're actually no worse than us. You know, they've endured a really difficult start to the season. Arsenal sacked Unai Emery nearly a month ago now. Obviously, Arsenal came out with the reasons why they sacked him, because obviously the performances were at the level, the performances and the results were at the level as required, and they went on like a 7-game winless run. This is why Emery, of course, was sacked, but he was only there 18 months. But it was totally comparison to Wenger, because Wenger he's got a good legacy, Wenger. Not to the extent of Ferguson's legacy, saying that, but I thought he had a good 12, 13 years out of the 22 years he was there. Arsenal made a mistake because they should have got rid of Arsene Wenger at an earlier point, so you can say he left an average squad behind. But anyway, they've got Arteta in now. A lot of Arsenal fans would have been delighted, you know, of what was stemming from Arteta, you know, because he said prior to their game against Bournemouth that, you know, they've heard the noises and it's a clean slate for the players. Arteta drew his first game in charge of Arsenal against Bournemouth. You know, Arsenal, of course, have got a big game today against Chelsea. That's going to be very, very difficult for Arsenal. That could go either way because both teams are in a bad vein of form. But I've got to be honest, I don't think Arteta's the right man for Arsenal. You know, he knows the club inside out, fair enough, and he enjoyed 5 years with them. But he hasn't got any managerial experience. I know he worked alongside Guardiola at City as the coaching assistant for 3 years, and maybe could have interpreted some stuff off him and learned some tips off him, I don't know. But, you know, I just don't think he's good enough, you know. And I've got the same perception on Lampard. I don't think he's good enough for Chelsea and that. And like I've said, managers are getting sacked left, right and centre now. You know, Pellegrini's just been sacked from West Ham. You've got, Himber sacked from West Ham. You know, Ancelotti's obviously now Everton manager, but he was sacked from Napoli a couple of weeks ago. You got Emery sacked, Pochettino sacked. But yeah, so many managers are now getting sacked. So that just proves how ruthless now the boards are currently are. So yeah, like I said, I'm very, very convinced Man United are going to get in the top four this season. And that's really everything to update. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.